Hey, what's up guys? G42 here, and it's with long-awaited pleasure that I'm finally able to bring you a review of a system that I've been waiting for over a year, and I was definitely very excited when I'd first heard about it and what it actually could offer. And then I took some time when I finally got my copy to go ahead and review it and see if at the end of the day I'm as excited or maybe even more excited than I was. And that system I'm talking about is the Retron5 by Hyperkin. And this system is definitely, I want to say, at least as far as clone systems go, the most ambitious project that I think anyone's ever taken on. It basically allows you to play all different kinds of systems. It allows you to play NES, Famicom, PAL NES, Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, Sega Genesis, Mega Drive, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and then it'll also play Master System games if you have the power base converter. So it's definitely a really ambitious project. So without further ado, let's at first just check out the insides. Let's take a look at everything, give you guys kind of an unboxing, and then we'll go into a little more of the technical stuff after that. But anyways, let's get started. So opening this up, guys, and at first glance you're going to notice that the system is packaged in kind of like a cardboard packaging, and everything's shrink wrap up good. So this is what it'll look like when you actually open the box. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at some of the internal components here. Alright guys, so just in talking about their actual controller, it's not terrible. I'm not blown away by it. As you can see, it's kind of got a very clicky stick, and the buttons all have a very clicky feeling to them also. It's kind of got a unique design, and a lot of people say that the design is actually just to help it fit into the back of the system here. So I'm not sure if that's actually Hyperkin's design inspiration, if you will. I think it's more to the effect that they were trying to go with something that, you know, had a little bit of a retro feel, was kind of universal to all systems that it covered. In the end, I would say that this is an average turnout. Like, it's decent. I'm not totally upset and disappointed in it, but at the same time, it's not like it blew me away. But at the end of the day, you will be needing to use this to navigate through any of the menus. It's got the home button feature, which is, you know, obviously, like if you've ever played Wii, you're, well aware of what that is. What's cool is the home button on this is actually the castle from the original Mario Brothers. So I thought that was kind of clever. But it's not the worst controller in the world, and you can buy extras of these. I saw one at my local game store. I believe it's $39.99 for the retail. So for a wireless controller, that's not too bad. It has micro USB charging. I'm not sure if you can see the port on the end of that. And then it comes with the micro USB cable here to go ahead and charge it from your system. So that's pretty cool. Another cool feature is that it's got lots of little adapters here. I believe this one is the Australian adapter. And then it's got one for a couple other regions too, so that you can actually play this around the world. It'll actually, adjust the electrical outlet, or rather the plug, to fit into your outlet. So I thought that was pretty cool. Looking at the actual system here, a little dusty already. It's got 3 ports on either side, 1 port for the Nintendo, 1 port for the Genesis, and 1 port for the Super Nintendo. On the back, you'll notice it's got the micro USB port, which I personally would have preferred to be on the front. However, the controller is located in the back, so I guess it makes more sense. It's just a little harder to get to. It's got the AC port. It's got a real small little hole here, which I'm told is for testing purposes only, and not to mess with that it could actually corrupt your system. So definitely don't press that. The HDMI output, a lot of people were upset that there wasn't any RGB or anything like that, so that people couldn't play on their CRT TVs, but this is actually more, in my opinion, designed for a modern gamer, somebody who, just wants to plug a system into their HD TV and just have, access to thousands of games. So, and then finally here is the SD card port, which will be very important for updating your system. So, just in letting you guys know, it wasn't the easiest thing in the world for me to go ahead and figure it out. If you check the manual that comes with it, it doesn't really say, as far as I can see in here, anywhere where it basically tells you, in order to upgrade your system, your firmware, go here, do this, do this. It doesn't really mention that at all. I actually found instructions off of Hyperkin's Facebook page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and link a link below, which will take you to Hyperkin's update page. So if you guys got yourself a Retron and you want to get upgraded and everything, you want to make sure you have the latest system updates, I will, like I said, link that below. You guys can check that out. And that'll give you, you know, at least a little bit more help in go ahead and you know, navigating through the process. I did it myself. There were 2 different updates I needed to do, and once I had figured them out, they were very simple. The web page gives you all the instructions, and it's pretty self-explanatory. And another cool thing is once you download the information onto the SD card, you plug it right back into the Retron, it instantly recognizes it and prompts you to update right away, so you don't have to navigate a lot of menus at that point. So that was definitely helpful. And now what I think you guys were definitely waiting for is a demonstration of the system. Now, I'm not as technically sound as a lot of the other YouTubers out there who have like HD capture devices and all that fun stuff, so I've got a little more of a crude setup, but I think it'll get the point across and it'll get the job done, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit of testing of some systems I have, or some games I have rather, just some games I was curious about. And then after that, I'll kind of wrap up and give you my final thoughts. So here comes the game screens. So as you can see, guys, here's Gargoyle's Quest 2, and this is what it would traditionally look like with the pixelated graphics and everything. So if I go ahead and open the home menu and go to the filter and just apply one of them, just a random filter here, you'll notice when I return to game how much it changes. It smooths the lines out very well. As you can see, it kind of gives it a little bit of an upgrade. Some people may not prefer this. They may prefer the original style of graphics. You know, and it can go either way. I can understand, you know, both arguments on whether or not people want to see the graphics like this or they want them in their original glory. This one I personally find a little better on the eyes. And I'll go ahead and I'll show you, now that we're in the actual gameplay of this, I'll show you what it would look like originally. So as you can see, Firebrand is very pixelated, and if you go back, you know, obviously he's a lot smoother. So again, it'll all come down to personal opinion. I personally prefer these enhanced graphics. I just think that, you know, on the HD TV it looks pretty good. It's a lot smoother. It's definitely my preference, but you know, that's going to come down to each person's individual play styles and preferences. But hope you guys appreciated or enjoyed this little demo, and get back to the review now. Alright guys, so in testing this system, one of the games I wanted to test out that I know a lot of people didn't have access to, so I really out of curiosity wanted to see if it would work, and I was oddly surprised with the results. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop it in now. Just go down to game menu there. As you can see, it loaded up. It's the NES test cartridge. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into it. Now, the thing that really confused me is this is supposed to test the control deck, which is the hardware, the original Nintendo system. So let's go ahead and take this test and see how it actually works out. So this is to test the video RAM, and apparently it's okay. Moving on, the working RAM, also okay. You notice the controller actually works out. It goes to the next step. Control stick, totally fine. And then the color tests. And as you can see, according to this, the Retron5 is a fully functioning Nintendo Entertainment System. So I found that to be definitely very, very odd. So as you can see, guys, it was pretty cool. I definitely think that it has the ability to not only display the games beautifully in 720p, which you've seen in the example I gave you with Gargoyle's Quest, but it also has the ability with the filters to kind of smooth out and round out those pixels, just to give it more of a modern look. And some people will love it, some people will hate it. I personally think it looks good. I think it gives you know, new life to old games, which is kind of cool. I was definitely very, very surprised that it worked with a NES test cartridge. I actually was under the impression that the purpose of this cartridge was to test the NES console to see if it was functioning properly, and since the Retron is supposedly emulating it, either it's pretty good at fooling the cartridge into thinking that it's actually inside of a NES, or I'm missing something. But another game that I did test, and just like Pat the NES Punk, who also did a review on this that I think was really good, and I will go ahead and link that below too, he tested Arkanoid. And I actually had 2 copies, and I gave it a test on both copies, and I couldn't get it to work either. So I was very confused as to why that is. When I watched his review, I thought that the reason might have been because he was using the controller that's specifically for Arkanoid, and I specifically left mine unplugged just to kind of, you know, see if that was reasoning. And I was going to try to play it with the just the Hyperkin controller just to see if I could get the game to boot up. It wouldn't even boot up for me, so... a couple more games that I did test, just to let you guys know, and that they did work fine. I tried my copy of Dinosaur Peak, fired up, worked fine. I tried out Hagane. It is still impossibly difficult, but it also fired up and worked fine. And then, you know, just a classic game that everybody has played, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I wanted to see how the filters would improve the graphics of this, and they did look good. I was messing around with them for a little while. And, you know, there were some filters that I thought looked good. You know, unfortunately, I actually do believe it looks better if you get it on the Wii U Virtual Console. I think that kind of combines, like, it really smooths the graphics out. But it definitely did look pretty good on the Retron. And then another couple games I tested here. I tested out a PAL game, the only PAL game I actually own, which is Paradius, which is kind of like a shmup of sorts. And it also fired up right away, and there were no difficulties at all. And then another thing I was actually lucky enough to get my hands on to try was one of the Panasian games. So I popped it in, and unfortunately it did not recognize the cartridge. And I tested it on my Nintendo to verify it was working, and it is working. So it wasn't that the game itself wasn't working. The Retron just didn't, it wasn't able to recognize it. Now, I don't know if this is something that's going to change in a later update, or something that, you know, they're working on and they're going to address. Hopefully they do. Anytime I go to a convention and I see anyone from Hyperkin, I'm going to have a list of games, questions, and difficulties that I have run into in testing out the system. And I recommend you guys do the same. You know, there's a lot of ways to get a hold of them, and, you know, not like harassing them or anything, but just giving them information, because they said that they're very dedicated to upgrading the firmware on these, and that they wanted to, you know, keep making the system better. So as long as we keep giving them feedback, it definitely gives them stuff to work on. One of the things I didn't like, and I hope that at least in like maybe later releases of the Retron, they address, is just how firmly some of these cartridges fit in. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in the Genesis cartridge there, and as you can see, it is held so firmly that I can actually hold the weight of the system by it. So to go ahead and take this out, let me brace myself a little. As you can see by my face turning red, it definitely didn't slide right out. So I think that's got some good points and some bad points. Obviously, by the pins being so tight, it's going to help ensure that you get a firm connection, which will increase the chances of it working, and not to mention, it will probably increase how long it will be able to read them, because as we know with our old systems, you know, once the pins become loose, you know, it definitely it becomes a hassle to you know, to get them to work again. So that is good. The only concern I have is because it being so tight, by removing it, you may actually damage your system. And then one other concern is, are the pins so tight that they'll damage some of your games? You know, and a lot of old retro games have a lot of value, so it's something you may want to consider. Is you know, be careful if you're putting in any expensive games. You know, it'd be terrible to see something like that happen, where, you know, one of your games gets damaged or whatever. But all in all, I would say that I'm not disappointed in the system. I knew coming in what it offered, and I'd done a lot of research, so I almost knew what I was getting before I got it. I'd spoken to a lot of people who have had hands-ons with it. I actually saw it myself at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo last year, so I kind of knew what I was getting. And I think it's a good overall piece of equipment. Unfortunately, they did raise the price on this. I actually was lucky enough to get mine for $99.99 because I pre-ordered it from Amazon. And I, you know, had waited so long, and Amazon guarantees prices, that I was able to get it for the $99. But unfortunately, a lot of people who purchase this in like a store, if you go into like a local retro store, or if you order it online new, it's going to run you $139.99, and that's unfortunate. You know, that the price went up. I think the $99 price point was a lot more attractive to you know, a lot of the people who are casual or who are not sure. I do not think that this will replace all of your systems. What I look at this as is a versatility tool, kind of like comparing a Swiss Army knife to, you know, a specific item that you would see in the Army knife. You know, like a fork in a Swiss Army knife is not going to be as effective as an actual fork. It's not as ergonomically designed or whatever. So in the end, what I think this is a space saver, and a real cool way to play maybe some Famicom or PAL games, or you know, stuff like that, where, you know, some people may not have access to all those systems. So I think that's another place where this will shine. This will personally be what I use to play the PAL games that I get a hold of. You know, it's not practical for me to have, you know, 15 different systems hooked up to the TV at once. So there are certain uses for this, and I definitely think for what it does offer, it's really cool. Another thing that this will offer is built-in kind of like Game Genie codes. You actually have to get them from Hyperkin and save them to your SD card, but it's still kind of neat. The Game Genie will not work with this, so that would be your only way to get access to these codes. And I'm told there's a lot of them, and in the future they may actually even add more, so that's pretty cool. Overall, like I said, if I were to give this a rating, I would say maybe an 8 out of 10. You know, and then only taking away from it due to the fact that the quality of the manufacturing, you know, it just kind of feels a little cheap. It's kind of flimsy. But at the end of the day, you know, for what it is, I think it's decent. And then the other thing would be, you know, that it has some compatibility issues. There are some games that myself and other people who tested it were not able to get to work. I'm not so much holding that against them, though, because I know that they have the opportunity in firmware upgrades to, you know, fix these issues. So those are things where, you know, it doesn't really hurt my personal review of it as badly, because I know it's something that they can fix down the road. So all in all, I would recommend this to people who are looking to save space, or who are looking to try out stuff like I said, the Famicom or the PAL games that they may not have a system and have access to. This would be a really good living room console, in my opinion. I don't think this is like the game room save-all, be-all. This is going to be one of the many systems I use. It is not going to replace the systems that I already own. So at the end of the day, I think it's a pretty cool product. I'm glad I've got my copy, and if you guys check one out, you know, let me know down below in the comments what you think, what your thoughts are, if you guys are getting one, if you already have one, some games you've tested that worked and didn't work, things you liked about it, things you didn't like about it. And I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and until next time, take care.